Hello and welcome back to Work Life by Design. Now, I am taking a little bit of a break at the moment over the Christmas holidays to spend some time with my family and friends. But while I do, I have lined up a couple of replays for you of my favorite episodes of the podcast to keep you inspired and to help set you up for the year ahead. So while you are on your Christmas break and starting to pondering what 2023 might hold for you, I hope that you enjoy these episodes, and I look forward to joining you back here again very, very soon. Welcome to Work Life by Design. I'm your host, Mel Marsden. As a passionate entrepreneur with a desire to create places where people and business thrive, I hope to inspire you to find your place at work and in life so you can live a life by design. You'll hear stories of transformation, exploring everything from organisational psychology to brand, and identifying opportunities in your workplace and your life to inspire your human potential. So, let's get started. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Work Life by Design. Now, I have a very special episode for you today because I recently ran a 5-day challenge called Chaos to Calm on how to design space back into your work and life. Now, this challenge was in celebration of me opening the doors for the Live a Life by Design program, which are now closed, but will be opening again in September if you missed out and want to jump in and join me on that one. But in the 5-day challenge, what we were talking about was all of the ways that we can start to make small changes in our daily lives to regain our calmness and shift us out of the chaos. Now, one of my favorite topics, as you all know, is environment, because that is what I do. That is what my bread and butter is, designing workplace environments to support organizations to really deliver on their strategic goals and their objectives. And so what I'm going to do today is I'm actually going to share with you a little sneak peek into what you can expect in the Chaos to Calm challenge. And we're going to be diving into what we did in day 5, which is the power of environment. So if you're interested in knowing a little bit more about the challenge, you can jump over to my website and you can actually join in as well. And so each day you will get an email from me giving you an overview of what we discussed in each of the daily deep dives, along with a range of small micro changes that you can begin to implement into your daily life so that you can start to consciously take back the reins and move from chaos to calmness by really starting to reconnect with the life that you want to live. Now, often a lot of these things we already know, we've heard, but we're not taking the action to implement. And so these are just some gentle reminders on the small changes that we can make to shift ourselves from that chaos to calmness. So if you're interested in that one, head over to my website. It's melissamarsden.com.au/calm, and you can join in the challenge there. But I hope you enjoy today's episode. Today we are going to be talking about the power of environment. As a workplace strategist and commercial workplace designer, this is what I live and breathe. I help organizations create environments that support their strategic goals, their values, and embed them into an environment that enables their people to actually easily adopt them and to live in alignment with those organizational values because they become inherent to the way that we actually work. So this is the whole business that I'm in. It's about helping these workplaces really understand how their strategic goals, their vision, and their operational performance is actually underpinned by their environment. So when we start to work with an organization, we want to understand what the purpose of that business is, how that translates into the brand experience that they want people to have when they work with them. And when I talk about brand experience, that's how you want people to feel. How do you want people to connect with you? What is the emotional reaction that you want people to have when they engage with you and your business, your employees? And when we have that clarity around what the brand experience is, we can then drill that down and we can start to define the culture. Because in order to live that brand experience and to deliver that, this is what we need to be then embedding into our culture so that everybody within the organization is delivering on that. And yes, It is all about the psychology that goes behind it, because that is such a big factor in how we behave, because this is what we do. And so when we understand the brand experience and we are then developing a culture that responds to that, that culture then has a set of values that sit behind it. And when we can understand what those values are, that's when we can translate those values into behaviors. And that is where the magic is that I get to work with, because when I understand the behaviors that we want to be having in the environment, because they are going to support the values of the organization, they're going to then support the culture, the brand experience, and ultimately deliver on the purpose, we can then start to shape and guide and change the environment to influence the way that people behave. So it becomes an inherent reaction and response to the environment. So this is exactly how we work, and it is all about the psychology of it. How can I influence the positive behavior of people in the environment to align with the expectations and the desires and the ambitions and the strategic goals of an organization? So that lays the foundation. So if we think about that then, and we think about the environment that you have in your home or the one that you're creating for yourself, how is that supporting or hindering your ability to live out your own objectives, your own values, your own strategic goals? How is that enabling you to live the life that you want to live? And when we start thinking about that, that's what we need to be considering. So that's why I'm really passionate about this, because our environment has such a huge impact on how we feel, how we behave, how we show up. And this is all about that whole concept that we're here today to talk about, the chaos to calm. So how is your environment either supporting you or detracting you from achieving what it is that you want to achieve in your life? So we need to think about how our space is actually affecting us. Now, if we start to think about this, different spaces invoke different feelings, and they shift our ability to concentrate, to collaborate, to be creative, to be innovative, to be focused. Our environment has a significant impact on our ability to work in a way that we need to work. Now, there was a big movement a couple of years ago towards workplaces. We moved away from open plan to what we called activity-based working. Now, the principle of activity-based working is that you find a place within the organisation, a space that suits the activity that you need to perform. Seems pretty simple, right? So if I need to do focused, quiet, concentrative, individual work, I seek out a space that is going to enable me to do that. Conversely, if I need to meet together with a team, we want to having a robust collaborative conversation, we want to be brainstorming, we need a very different space. So ideally, we need a larger table, preferably a standing table, because it's going to then activate more active conversation. We probably want to have some visual tools such as whiteboards or screens so that we can share information and we can then add to that information in either a digital or an analog manner. So each of these spaces is providing a different way for us to work and supporting a different way for us to communicate, to collaborate, and to function, all of which are supporting those strategic goals and values and behaviours that we want to have. So think about how that happens in your own home and think about the environment that you're creating for yourself. Now, another thing is, if we think about space just typically, when we are in an environment that has very high ceilings create this feeling of expansiveness. There is space, and it makes us feel like there is unlimited possibilities. And when we have unlimited possibilities, that's where our creativity is encouraged. That's where we start to feel more innovative, because literally we feel like the sky is the limit. So if you need to do a creative activity, or you want to feel inspired, or like you need to be innovative in the work that you're doing, think about finding a space that has a high ceiling where you feel voluminous and you feel like you have the energy and the environment to be able to create from that space. Now, conversely, low ceilings create a feeling of intimacy, of enclosure, of containment, because they are smaller and they feel much more contained around you. So these types of spaces are really great for when you're doing focused and concentrative work, because they're literally helping you to direct your attention downward and inward, which is exactly where it needs to be when you're trying to do that type of work. So think about how changing up your space can support you to focus and do the work that you want to be doing. So think about that. How is the space that you work in, or the space that you live in, or the different spaces that you have available to you, supporting the type of work that you need to do? And how can you shift yourself around throughout the course of the day to support that? Now, another way to think about this is if you need to read a report, perhaps sitting at your desk is not the right place to do that. Maybe going and sitting in a comfy lounge chair is the right way to do that. If you need to be working on data and lots of spreadsheets and need multiple screens, and of course you're going to need to be doing that at your desk. However, what I know is that when I'm trying to do creative work for a client and I'm developing new concepts, the last place I want to be sitting is here at this desk, because I'm in this very contained small space with a low ceiling. I'm much more creative if I am sitting cross-legged on my bed or I'm on the lounge with my laptop perched on my lap. Now, ergonomically, that might not be the best solution, but in short-term periodic amounts, that's fine, because we actually want to be moving our body and using our body in different ways and getting different postures, because that is actually really good for our muscular system as well. So think about how you're using your home. And if you want some more tips on that, jump over to my website and have a look at the Workplace Dynamics Blueprint Work From Home Edition. This is a really short little course that will take you through the way that you can set your home up to optimize it for work. Because when we all came home, none of us had really worked from home a great deal before. And if we had it in very makeshift environments. This program will take you through how to actually think about your space better, set yourself up in more direct situations, and think about your environment as a whole and what you have available to you to maximize that. So think about how you can move around your house. The other thing I suggest is get outside, go to a cafe, think about how that makes you feel as well. If you're inspired and innovative working in a cafe, I know that's where I get a lot of energy from. I like sitting in a noisy environment and tapping away at my keyboard. Think about all of those sensory experiences that we have, and I'll come back to that in a little bit more detail in a minute. The other thing I want to encourage you to do is get outside and spend time in nature, because when we are trying to take ourselves from that chaotic place into that calmness, getting outside and working in nature, and even just getting outside and going for a walk in nature, helps you connect back into the world. It helps you feel more connected, more alive, but it also gives you perspective. When you can start to see how big the world is and what's going on around you, you can start to see and put your own problems and your own situations into a far better context because you've got perspective. Now, the other thing is that getting outside and into the fresh air oxygenates your blood. And there is this thing called biophilia. So biophilia is the reaction that we have from having a natural environment around us. And we've tried to replicate this in workplaces by adding in green walls and all other things. But if you can get out in the real deal, I highly recommend you do that, because there are great health benefits from this. So research has shown that it can lower your blood pressure and your stress hormone levels. It reduces your nervous system arousal. So yesterday I spoke about your parasympathetic nervous system. This is what getting outside in nature can do. It can help you start to calm that nervous system down and re-regulate your body. It enhances your immune system. So when we're all being exposed to nasty germs and bugs at the moment, getting outside and getting that fresh air in the nature is going to help you boost your immune system function. It's going to increase your self-esteem. It reduces anxiety, and it also helps you improve your mood. The Japanese have got this right. They call it forest bathing. And the word that they use for it is shinrin-yoku, and I hope I said that right, but it's forest bathing. So what they have identified is that there are significant health benefits from getting outside and allowing that into your system. And you can even replicate this. Again, I'll come back to that in a minute. So that's a couple of ideas to think about how to bring yourself from that chaotic space back into calmness.
Never before have we collectively experienced such change on a global scale. The pandemic, whilst on one hand has challenged us in ways that previously we could have only imagined, on the other, it has opened the doors to incredible opportunity. The opportunity to redesign our work lives in a way that works for us. An opportunity to disrupt, reset, and recreate our new normal. And to help you on this journey, I am so excited to bring to you the Work-Life Lounge. This is your VIP pass to accessing some of the greatest thought leaders in our world of work. So often we are told what we need to do and why we need to do it, but we are often left wondering, but how? How do I make the changes that I need to? And that's where the Work-Life Lounge is here to support you, to guide you step by step through the how, to take back control and design your work life on your own terms. I can't wait to see you in the lounge. Now, let's get back to the episode.
When we are continuing to sit at the same desk every day, it's like, think about when you're driving to work. When you're driving to work, what happens is that you can start to switch on what we call autopilot. How many times have you gotten to the office and then, or dropped the kids off at school or wherever you're going, and then went, oh, I actually don't even remember getting here? Because what happens is that we're so attuned to doing that every single day that our brain just switches into autopilot. They know the way, they know the road, our brain knows where we're going, so it switches off. Now, the same thing can happen if we are continually sitting in the same environment. We just end up sitting down and going through the motions and repeating the same things that we did yesterday. And what happens is we get stuck in this mental loop, this mental cycle, where we aren't coming up with any new ideas. We aren't challenging ourselves. And so that's why changing up your environment and changing up your scenery actually plays a significant benefit in enhancing your creativity and your innovation. And also, love a good walking meeting. Absolutely. It gets the blood going. It helps you have much more fluid conversations, because when we're sitting in a meeting room, what's happening is that we are focused on each other, and that actually creates another mental load and another mental strain. Whereas when we're walking, our brain is being activated because we are having this physical stimulation, but we're also focused ahead. We're not focused on each other. And so that shifts the way that the conversation works. Another thing that we need to be really conscious of in our environment is clutter. I don't know about you, but I get to a point where if my house is a little bit in disarray, and I have 3 children who, kids are messy, they leave their crap everywhere. There's toys all over my living room. I've got dolls sleeping on pillows. All sorts of things are going on in our house. There's piles of washing. Messy spaces create stress. When I get to that limit, the first thing I do is I go on a cleaning rampage, and the house gets tidied and everything gets put away. And I feel so much better at the end of it. I feel lighter. I feel like this has all just been lifted. This has actually been shown by research, though. Science has shown that when we have messy, cluttered spaces around us, it leads us to find different coping mechanisms. And those coping mechanisms can be such things as unhealthy food choices, which then only leads to further draining of our energy because we aren't appropriately fueling our bodies. Messy spaces make us feel really disorganized. They make us distracted, and they make us feel out of control. So all of those things are just feeding into that chaos. So if you want to start to bring back some calmness, clean up. Make sure your desk is clean at work and your desk is clean at home, because a clean space equals a clean mind. And it helps us get clarity. It removes the visual distraction of what's going on around us so that we can actually focus on what we want to be focusing on. And it also helps us then remove the digital distractions. And if you want some more information on that, I highly recommend checking out Dr. Christy Goodwin. If you're in the Work-Life Lounge, jump in there. She's done a couple of masterclasses for us on digital distraction and how we can start to limit that, because all of those things add to that chaos. The dings and the bings and the email notifications and people wanting a piece of us. All of that adds to our sense of chaos. And so if we can take back control of those things and we can limit those distractions and we can limit that visual clutter, we can then start to come back and create calmness for us, because we have a sense of control over our environment and we are limiting what is coming at us. Now at home, think about a place that is a sanctuary for you too. Perhaps that's your bedroom. Keep that place sacred and private, and clean and free. We talk about sleep hygiene, make sure that that's a great space that you actually want to go to. Think about the bed linen. I know this sounds really girly, but having a beautiful bedroom that makes you want to go to bed at night is really good for you, because it's somewhere that you want to escape to. You feel safe there. You feel like you want to go there at night and you want to get those Zs. So think about your bedroom and how that's set up. Now, I've touched on this one a couple of times through today, but I want you to really think about your senses, because our senses are what are feeding us information. And those information cues are what is going to be driving our sense of chaos or our sense of calmness. So think about, what's your sense of smell receiving in your environment? Is it peaceful and calm and uplifting? If it's not, maybe burn a candle, put some oil in a diffuser. Now, I mentioned before about the forest bathing. One of my favorite brands, Iku, make a oil that replicates that forest bathing scent. So you can actually just put that in your oil diffuser and you can have that going throughout the course of the day as well. So all of these layering of things is going to be really helpful for you. So that's going to be one way. Think about what is coming in through your sense of smell. Your sense of sight. So we've talked about clutter. We've talked about mess. Think about what's going on around you. We've talked about what you can hear. We've talked about, the dings and the bings from all of the email notifications, but also maybe you need to be putting yourself into a sense of calmness through music, or you can think about, what is the environment that you need to be creating? If you need to be doing something that's really uplifting and you want to create a vibe, put on some great music that is going to get you going, that's going to get your heart racing and get your blood pumping. Think about what the environment is that you need to create to achieve the outcome that you're trying to achieve, and then what can you do to impact your senses? Because a lot of our chaos comes from the impact of sensory overload. So start to think about how you can control what's coming at your senses and how that supports you. If you think about, one of my favorite places is the day spa, because who doesn't go to a day spa and feel calm? If you aren't, you're going to the wrong one. So think about, what is the environment that you walk into when you go into a day spa? How do they create that environment? They create it through low levels of mood lighting. They create it through the sound and the music that they're playing through the speaker system. They create it through the senses of smell that they create. So whether that's through an oil diffuser, a candle, incense burning, they create this environment. They look at the colors. They're all very muted and very neutral and very calm. So if you need a calm environment, think about an environment that replicates that so that you can put yourself into that space. Perhaps that's how you set up your bedroom. Go find your favorite day spa and replicate your bedroom to be like the day spa. These are just different cues that you can start to look at to inspire the way that you create your environment to help you support yourself to take you from that chaos into that calmness. Now, the last thing that I just want to leave you with today, before I take you through the micro changes, is we've talked a lot about your external environment and how you can control that. The one last thing that is coming from your external environment and impacting your internal environment is who you spend your time with. So you are the sum of the 5 people that you spend your time with. So I want you to think about that really, really carefully. How are those 5 people affecting your environment? How are they affecting your internal environment? How are those people either uplifting you or pulling you down? Because when we start to think about who we have in our inner circle, who we are letting have space in our mind, who are influencing our thoughts, who are influencing our hearts, that is where some of that chaos could be coming from. If you are surrounded by people who are not supportive, who only create drama, all of that is going to be coming in and influencing your internal environment. So I want you to just think about that. Let's jump in and do a quick recap on some of the micro changes that you can start to make to shift your whole environment. It's really important for us to just think about this stuff. And often it's stuff that we know. We often already know these things. We just need a bit of a memory jogger and to think about these things a bit more consciously, because we start to get on autopilot, those habits, and we forget that we have control over these things. So the micro changes that I want you to think about and how you can integrate these: move around. Don't tie yourself to a desk. Think about the energy that you want to bring to a task and consciously choose the best environment to do that. So if you want to be creative, look for those big high ceilings and expansive spaces. Get outside. If you want to do really focused work, find a small, intimate space that is going to direct your concentration inwards and limit those distractions around you. Light a candle. When I'm sitting here at my desk, I have my oil diffuser going. I have a range of different oils. I put different ones in depending on what I want to be, invoking, what kind of feeling I want, what kind of environment I want to be creating. So think about that. Pop on a playlist that is going to match the mood that you want to create. If you want relaxed and chilled, I use Apple Music. They're a whole section called Chill, Pure Calm. Apple have done a great job of curating all of these playlists for us, so it's already there. If you want to pump it up and you've got a high energy activity to do, or you need to go outside and do a workout and you need to get yourself into a mood, find that one. Go and find the music that is going to activate the type of environment you want to be creating for yourself. Tidy up your desk and your house. Go on the cleaning spree. Put the toys away, clean the desk, get rid of all the scraps of paper, the dirty coffee cups, all the shit that you leave on your desk. Get rid of it. Have a cleaning spree. If you can afford it and you're in the luxurious position to be able to get a cleaner, I highly recommend it. It's 4 hours of my week that I get back to be able to spend with my kids, my husband, on my business, on me. That 4 hours is worth gold. So think about it. If you can afford it, get yourself a cleaner. Get outside, go for a walk in the bush, get outside in nature. Just put your feet in the grass and look at the sky. Research has shown us it only takes 20 seconds for us to just feel calmer and to drop that cortisol level and that stress response in our body by grounding ourselves back into the earth. Just 20 seconds. And then our last one I want you to think about is do an audit of who you are spending your time with or who is dominating your time. Because you might not be choosing it, but they might be. So do you need to be putting better boundaries in place? And how are those people influencing your sense of well-being? So they're the micro changes for you to be able to put in today. Have a beautiful day. It is pouring rain here in Brisbane. Enjoy. Thank you so much for joining me today. Appreciate it. Have a beautiful weekend. Bye.
Thank you for joining me for Work Life by Design. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd love you to rate, review, or subscribe, or all three, in iTunes and share it with your friends so we can continue to build this community. I would love to hear from you, so if you have any thoughts, questions, or suggestions, you can connect with me on Instagram at Melma or send me an email at melissa@melissamarsden.com.au. I hope this episode has given you a few sparks of inspiration so that you can design a work life you love.